Number 19, for the top part, it's asking you to find out which graph fits for the function. Look at the translation, okay? This is the parent function of the function that they gave us. What do you mean by parent function? Well, think about that as like the starting point, okay? Like the original, the basic form, the template, okay? This is what happens when we say move it up one or reflect over the x-axis, which is what we're doing here, okay? This is how it looks in the beginning. This is how you can tell that it's been translated. Anything that resembles this, that has any additional factors, like how this has a 1 now and a negative sign, you can tell that it's been translated according to the key. Now, I do believe that we have a previous video going over what all of the translations are. If you need it broken down again, definitely let me know, but I am highly confident that we have that, so definitely check your notes for that. But if not, no problem, I can write them out and we can do a different video. But really quick summary, whenever we see a negative sign on the outside, I wrote it like this to show you what I mean when I say outside. So we have x. Keep in mind, this log right here is also in like a bubble of its own, negative log. So this negative sign could have either been inside of the big bubble or inside of the tiny bubble. If it was inside of the tiny bubble with the x, like if this had said just positive log 3 negative x, then we would have reflected in the y-axis. But it says negative log 3x instead of, negative x. So we're going to reflect in the x-axis since it's out here in this big bubble. When I say bubble, I just mean I'm referring to the parentheses here, okay? So the negative sign placement tells us that it's reflecting in the x-axis. Over here, you can tell what that means. When you reflect in the x-axis, think, well, if the x-axis is horizontal, if I were to flip over it, that's me changing my y-axis. Let's say that I was at a positive 3, or let's say I was at a negative 3. Okay, well, if I flip over this x-axis, then I'm going to land at a positive 3, okay? So keep that in mind over here, because where we started out, and it shows you on the graph at the top, look at the starting point where it actually, where the line meets the axis. The starting point is 1, 0. So first, we're going to translate it by reflecting it over the x-axis, which just means that we're going to make the y value the opposite sign. But since it's 0, we're just going to leave it alone. That's why this looks the same. But then we're going to move it vertically up by 1. Well, keep in mind which axis that would be. Which axis is vertical, x or y? Y is vertical because this is horizontal. So with the y-axis, with the y-axis being vertical, that means we're going to change the y value, which is 0, vertically by 1, meaning we're going to add 1. So our new unit is going to be 1, 1. You can use this form of translating to look at the different graphs that they provide you and check where the line meets, where it touches the line at, should be at 1, 1. Okay, that's how you can tell what your answer is. Just follow along what the translations are. Again, if you need a breakdown summary of what the different translations could be and what they mean, definitely let me know. But just follow the translations and then match it to where the graph is. Wherever that line touches that axis point, that's where your new point should be, okay? Now let's talk about domain and range. Domain is going to be your x-axis, meaning it's going to ask, well, how far left and how far right can we go? Okay, there we go. I'm trying to make it so it's not blurry, honey. How far left and how far right? We see because it's an asymptote, which is going to be x equals 0 because it never touches 0. Like, that's the whole point of the graph to show you. You can see that the graph never touches 0. Like, the furthest left that it will go is actually, like, near 0, the 0 part. So that's why we're going to say that it's going to be 0 and not negative infinity, because the graph doesn't go past 0, okay? 0 is the lowest point that it goes. But it goes higher, like it goes as high as infinity. Like, we don't know how far it goes, so we put infinity. Same thing with range. We know that range is going to be negative infinity to infinity because range tells us how high and how low something can go. Okay, so again, our asymptote is going to be x equals 0. Think about what your asymptote is. It's the marker where that corner is kind of meeting at. Like, where would that corner touch if it was just touching the axis line? Oh, it would touch 0? Okay, x equals 0. Okay, I can also show you that on number 2 really quickly. Your asymptote is going to be 3. How do we know it's going to be 3? Well, looking at the graph, that's the answer, which I guess I'm kind of jumping the gun, but we'll keep going. With the asymptote, with the graph that's the answer, you can tell that 3 is the asymptote because wherever the curve is on that graph, it's almost, imagine pinching the corner and dragging it to where it would be on the line, okay? And it drags to 3, okay? Like if you had to stretch it out, like where is it not touching, okay? Kind of like the bed sheet corner, like you gotta like pinch it to grab it to the corner. Like where would it stretch to? Okay, that's how you can tell what your asymptote is. So for number 2, your asymptote equals 3. Now with this one, it gives us the translation to say, hey, vertical by 3. How can we tell it's vertical? Whenever you're adding something, whenever there's a coefficient here or a number here, that's what you're going to go vertically by. Okay, so your initial point on the graph that they give you is going to be 0, 1. How can you tell? Because 0, 1 is the point where the line touches the graph. Okay, well, since we're going vertically by 3, vertically again is the y-axis. We talked about that up here. Which axis line is vertical? This is horizontal, the x-axis. This is vertical, the y-axis. Okay, so your y value is 1. We're going vertically by 3, so 1 plus 3 is going to give us 4. Okay, again, we're at 0, 1 on our graph. Our y value is 1, and since we're going vertically, which is up and down, which is our y value, we're going to take this 3 and add it to the 1. Okay, so that's how we get 0, 4. And then when it comes to your domain and range, your domain is always going to be negative infinity to infinity when you're dealing with these type of graphs. Like you can look at the graph and see, oh, yeah, you can't tell where it stops at. But the range is going to be 3 to infinity because the lowest that it will go is to 3. Don't mistake it for being 4 because 4 is where it's at on the graph, but you can see how it kind of curves a little bit underneath the 4. And if you trace that, it goes to 3, okay? So your range, which is how far down and how far down is 3, but how high, it goes up to infinity. If you have any questions about these, definitely let me know. Apologies about the technology acting up, but we will definitely get that situated. But feel free to let me know if you have any questions, okay? Thanks.